All right, welcome to our December members workshop. As you may know, we are just 2 nights away from the longest night of the year. And after that, days little by little start to get a bit longer as we acknowledge the return of the sun. So in this experience, my offering is centered on an embodiment of this time of the year through the breath, through movement, and through a visualization and meditation. And throughout this experience, we'll be invited to ask ourselves 3 questions when we look back at 2021 and look forward to 2022. And those questions are, what wants to be remembered? What wants to be released? And what wants to be renewed? So I invite you to begin by sitting up tall, whether that is on a bolster on the floor or on a chair. Adjust your posture so that ears are over top of shoulders. Drop your shoulders back and down, shoulders over top of hips, and create a solid, stable seat. Maybe eyes closed, maybe gaze still. And begin to notice your breath. In through the nose and out through the nose if possible. Begin to notice where you feel your inhalation. The pause at the top of the inhalation. Notice what happens as you exhale. Notice the pause at the bottom of the exhalation. Feel the breath in your body without having to do anything with the breath. You are just beginning to notice the breath and observe it. If our breath was symbolic of the turn of the season, where we find ourselves now is at the end of the exhalation, meaning that as the days begin to get longer, we can think of that time as the beginning of the inhalation. As we move through spring, the middle of the inhalation. When we reach the summer solstice, we're at the top of the inhalation. And then as we move through fall and into this moment, we move through the beginning, the middle, and the end of the exhalation. In yoga philosophy, the end of the exhalation is a place of stillness where it has been referred to as the place of no mind. And you might notice as you get curious with your breath that in that pause, the mind can rest. And this in itself is a meditation technique, letting ourselves explore the pause at the end of the exhalation. As we are mindfully exploring this time of the season, the longest night of the year, exploring the stillness and the pause there. For the first part of our sequence, we will focus more deeply on the exhalation. Therapeutically, when we focus on lengthening our exhalations, we calm ourselves. We soothe our nervous systems. So the breath technique that I'd like to offer here is one referred to as 4-7-8. Now, some of you will enjoy the count. For some of you, it's just all about cultivating a longer exhalation while the inhalation is a little bit more brief. So you could try inhale to 4, and you can count as quickly or as slowly as that works for you. You don't want to feel like you're straining. You could just slightly hold the breath at the top of the inhalation, or You could hold it for that count of 7, and then allow the exhalation out of the nose to be long, that count of 8. So again, if a count doesn't work for you, it's an inhale. It's maybe a brief hold. A retention of the breath does not work for everyone. But then we allow the exhale to be longer. And instead of just becoming still and focusing on that, let's move through a little bit of movement and then we'll come back to it. But you can also explore it while moving. And the primary movement I'd like to suggest here are Sufi grinds, whether you're in a seat or on the ground. So circles with your torso. This is a movement that can start to encourage our breath to naturally deepen. Sometimes it's a challenge to move right into a breath technique if we haven't yet moved. Whether you are counting your 4, 7, 8, start to lengthen those exhalations, not only because of the effects on our nervous system, and it is a therapeutic technique, but also symbolically in this practice as we honor the year that was and we honor the time of year we find ourselves in. Can you find yourself focusing on your long exhalation and the pause afterward? And let's switch directions. And then come back to a tall seat. You can switch the cross of your legs. You could lengthen your legs. You could decide, yes, it's better to sit in a chair if you prefer here. And then notice if that breath technique, a shorter inhalation, a longer exhalation, and maybe resting the mind in the pause at the end of the exhalation comes a bit easier now that you have moved a bit. Is there a bit more freedom in that longer exhalation? And throughout this entire first half of our workshop, we will be focusing on this longer exhalation and the pause afterwards as we move into an embodiment of releasing postures. And then through the second half, we'll move into an embodiment of renewing and rejuvenating postures. So a few more rounds, maybe a 4 on the inhale, a 7 count as we retain the inhale, and a nice long exhalation. And the stillness at the end of the exhalation representing the time of the winter solstice. Let's match some movement to this breath from seated, allowing the breath and the mind to help us to focus. Next time you inhale, come to cactus arms, please. That's your inhale. As you exhale, bend the elbows, interlace the hands in front of you so the forearms are parallel with the floor. Next inhale, press the palms forward, lift them up, maybe lift the chin, lift the chest, and then as you exhale, round the spine, hands down, maybe chin down, and pause at the end of the exhalation. And then we'll come back into this movement. Beginning of the inhale, beginning of opening up to cactus arms. Keep the shoulder blades on those upper back ribs as you bend the elbows and interlace the fingers out in front of you. Inhale, press the palms forward and up. Exhale, press the palms forward, round the spine, palms down, chin down. Let's do that a few more times with your breath. Inhale. Nice long exhalation. Inhale. Exhale. Last time. Maybe interlacing the fingers in a different way. Let the mind settle in the end of the exhalation. We're honoring that place in this practice. And then sit up tall and begin to make circles with your wrists. Warming up the wrists a little bit more here before we load them. Flexion and extension of the wrists. Spread the fingers, make fists. And then let's come to fours. Wrist creases parallel with the top edge of your yoga mat. Again, in this first half of our practice, we're focusing on a lengthened exhalation and the pause after the exhalation. As you inhale, let's drop the abdomen, kiss the shoulder blades, look up. And exhale, round the spine. And at the end of the exhalation, we'll find ourselves in the version of child's pose that serves us. And then continue with your breath. Adding on here, next time you inhale, move the knees and the feet back so you're in a 3-point plank. Keep the face and shoulders lifted, dial the hands away from one another, slowly, slowly lower. Anchor the tops of the feet in the pubic bone. Baby cobra, more length and lift. Here's your inhalation, kiss your shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, tuck your toes, press down into your hands. And again, if it's not too much, sink the hips back for your exhalation and the pause after your exhalation. Let's continue like that. So this time you'll inhale. You'll come forward to your 3-point plank. Keep the face and shoulders lifted. Nice long exhalation as you lower. Settle into the end of the exhalation as you set up an anchored leg, anchored pelvis. And then inhale, more length and lift. Nice long exhalation to lower, to tuck the toes. Let's continue the exhalation as our hips move back and down. Pause at the end of the exhalation. A few more rounds. If it feels too much for the low back to move back and forth like this, instead of a child's pose, you can find a tabletop posture. Exhale, we lower, tuck the toes. Abdominal wall is strong. Take the hips back. Sink into the pause at the end of the exhalation as we sink into the upcoming longest night of the year. Next time you come down to a prone position on the abdomen, pause right here. Make a pillow for your forehead. Rest your forehead. We're going to be warming up the muscles at the back of the legs just a little bit. So rest your forehead. And then when you inhale, lift the right leg from the inner upper thigh and make circles with the right ankle. Keep the pubic bone rooted towards the ground. The abdominal wall is strong so that the low back is spacious here. And if this doesn't feel good for the low back, you'll leave this. Starting to feel some warming on the right back line of the leg there. And then switch. Lift the left leg. Hug the inner thighs towards one another. Make circles with the left ankle. You're staying with your breath. And then plant those hands, and you decide you can move hips down for your child's pose, or it's time for our first variation of a downward facing dog. If you have a down dog in your practice, spread those fingers with wrist creases parallel to top edge of the yoga mat. Press your hands down and forward as you send your hips back and up. Bend the knees as much as you need to here. And walk out the dog if you prefer. And when you're ready, we're finding a flow between dog and our plank. So as you exhale, you'll slowly come forward to a plank position. And as you inhale, you can lift the hips back up. And you can come down and move between table and child's pose if plank and dog does not serve you. And move perfectly in time with the breath. Next time you come forward to a plank, knees can come down if you like. Hold as you inhale. Slowly, slowly come all the way down, elbows close to the body. One more baby cobra here. You can tent the fingers, you can hover the fingers, kiss those shoulder blades. And then a nice long exhalation takes you back into an extended child's pose. If that's okay, if this does not feel good for the knees, then you can stay in your prone position. Forehead rests on something. Maybe it's stack fists, maybe it's a bolster, maybe it's the ground. Find that breath rhythm again. Watch an inhalation. Watch a much longer exhalation and sink into the pause after the exhalation. And we'll pause at this moment in practice to reach for our journal and pen. Maybe you sit up, maybe you lay all the way down into a prone position. Maybe you stay in your child's pose for a moment or two. We stay with our breath as we invite ourselves to ask the first of 3 questions that we are asking in honor of the close of 2021. The first question, when it comes to the year that was, what wants to be remembered? Now this is just for you. Let go of any shoulds. Come back to the breath. Maybe eyes are closed. Maybe you come back into your child's pose. Maybe you allow yourself to rest your forehead here for a moment or two in a prone position. And simply ask yourself, what wants to be remembered? And it can be a really useful tool to start to write. If you feel comfortable with that, you could take this practice into the days to come. But maybe you write a few things now. Maybe a few things come to mind. What wants to be remembered? Could be big global events. It could be more on the micro. Something more personal. what wants to be remembered. And finish up if you're in the middle of a sentence. Again, this is something that you can come back to. 3 questions that can be helpful to ask ourselves at the end of the year, which we'll explore throughout this practice. Have your notebook close by if you're using one. And then press yourself back up to a table. It might be a table where you stay or a downward facing dog, as we continue to move on to an embodiment of the end of the exhalation here. And eventually, let's find ourselves in a forward fold at the top edge of our yoga mat. Plant those feet firmly. Parallel, if that's okay for you, rocking forward and back, toes light and spreading. Use your exhalation to root down and then hands to the hips. Use your inhalation to rise up, reach up, and then arms by your sides. Check that the feet are indeed parallel. Press the feet away from one another with the breath. Inhale, reach your arms. And as you exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hip creases, lower the arms down and back, and that's a nice long exhalation. When you inhale, press into the feet, recruit those glutes, inhale and rise. And we'll do that a few more times. As you exhale, bend the knees, send the hips back, all the way down, arms down and back, and press down into the feet. Legs are super strong. Inhale and rise. Now this movement might be used intentionally as an opportunity to release. You might lengthen your exhalation. You might create a more forceful exhalation. You might let the exhalation go with a sigh or an open mouth here. And then pause in your chair pose next time, either arms out in front of you or hands to the hips for a little bit more stability. More weight is coming over to that left leg. Abdominal wall is strong. And we'll sneak the right leg back for an upright crescent lunge where you'll shorten and widen your stance. Back leg really strong. Zip pubic bone to navel and squeeze the outer hips towards one another. Let's keep it going there. Inhale, reach. You could straighten the leg if you like. And then as you exhale, hinge at the hip creases, arms back and down. Inhale. Nice long exhalation. Maybe you're slightly angling the torso forward here. Keep hugging the outer hips towards one another. each time, as long as it's okay for your shoulders, you can move the shoulders back just a little bit more. Really draw those shoulder blades towards one another. Last time. Reach the arms forward and down and step back either to your table or to your downward facing dog. And now you'll lift the right leg. Hug the arms and legs towards one another. You could be in a tabletop instead. Exhale, knee towards nose. And inhale, lift. A few rounds of a dancing dog here. Exhale, long exhalation, relax the face. Lift front body to back body. And inhale, reach. Really use the muscles of the hands. And then step the right foot all the way forward here, please. Come into a low lunge. Hug the front hip back. Hug the outer hips towards one another. You might stay right here or you might come on up, hands to the hip points. Zip pubic bone to navel, tailbone is nice and long. Outer hips hug towards one another. Option number 1, shoulders and elbows back with hands to the hips. Option number 2, you might go for interlacing here. Chin back, ribs in, whole waistline back, nice long spine, and nice long exhalations. Follow them all the way to their close. Relax those front toes. And then release the interlace, reach forward and down. Come into that low lunge and prepare to step forward. Inhale, forward. Bend the knees a lot, keep the spine nice and long. Press the feet down, recruit those glutes, and come all the way up, maybe arms up. Back to your breath. Long exhalations. Let the mind settle in them. Let the body settle into them. And we're focusing on our exhalations in the other part of this sequence here. Flowing chairs once again. Parallel feet. Press feet and knees away from one another. Inhale, you'll lengthen. And then exhale. Find the release that serves you here. Find your long exhalation. And the inhalation helps you to lift. And the next time you come into your chair pose, pause, arms in front of you, or hands to the hips. Glutes are strong, abdominal wall is strong. This time you'll sneak the left leg back. Find the crescent lunge that serves you, find stability. Zip, lengthen tailbone, hug the legs towards one another. You could stay right here, or we'll continue those actions with our arms. Inhale, maybe legs straighten as arms reach, and exhale, arms back and down. Relax those front toes. End of the exhalation, you're really feeling your feet flat on the ground. Feeling that moment of stillness, body, breath, mind. And then reach forward and down. You decide you're stepping back to your dog or your tabletop. And whether you're in a table or a dog, eventually that left leg rises. Dancing dog or dancing cat-cow. Exhale.
maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 rounds before we step forward once again and come into a low lunge. You could keep fingertips down if that serves you. Front hip back, back hip forward. Hug the outer hips towards one another. Core is strong. Maybe you come all the way up. Zip pubic bone to navel. Back leg really strong. You could stay right here, shoulders and elbows back, or you could find the interlace. Chin back, shoulders and ribs back. Whole waistline moves back. Wherever the hands are, where's your breath? Relax the face, relax those front toes. Focus on that entire long, lingering exhalation all the way to its close. And then release. This time, plant those hands and step back to a downward facing dog. Ripple forward. Keep the face and shoulders lifted, slowly, slowly lower. And then you decide, coming back to your dog, coming back to your child's pose, coming back to your breath, your awareness on the exhalation. So much awareness on breath here. So much awareness on that pause. Using the breath as symbolic of the turn of the seasons. And here we are at the very end of the exhalation. So let's spend some time there. All right, either from a seated posture or sliding forward to a prone posture or staying in your child's pose, we're reaching for our journal and our pen once again. And the next question that we're invited to consider and to reflect upon is what wants to be released. When we look back on 2021, there are aspects that we are called on to remember and aspects that we can let go of. All part of honoring the year that was. So I invite you here to start a new page. What wants to be released? The next bit of our movement is going to be embodying this idea of releasing. So take that long exhalation with you. Take those reflections with you. Let's come up either through your table or your downward facing dog. We're coming up to a stand at the top of the yoga mat. Forward fold, top of your yoga mat, knees bent as much as you need to. Plant those feet. Find a stable base from which to rise from, and then as you inhale, arms wide and high. Hands down through heart center, exhale. Again, let's just ensure that our feet are parallel. We're going to take a seat in an invisible stool or chair. Check that the knees stay right on top of the ankles and that they don't cave in. It can be helpful to press feet and knees away from one another, recruit those glutes. Option number 1, hands come to the heart and think about lengthening tailbone through crown, shoulders are back. This may be plenty. Or as you exhale, firm the abdominal wall. Start to twist just from the mid-torso towards the right. So nothing else moves. Keep an eye on those knees. The left knee is going to want to jut forward. Maybe you sink further back. Maybe you come into more of a twist where the outer left elbow hooks to the outer right knee. Keep pressing the feet and the knees away from one another. Keep drawing the left hip back. So there's lots of different variations of where we are. There's no have to. Most important here is you stay with your breath, especially that long exhalation. And sometimes in twists, we really feel the benefits of the exhalation. That's a place where we can draw the waistline back, firm the abdominal wall, and twist a little bit more. And then press down. Let's come back out. And pause. Feel the feet on the ground. Maybe you feel even more breath here. Now we're doing that on the other side. Press feet and knees away from one another. Sink the hips down into an invisible chair or stool. Really recruit those glutes. You might lift up your toes. That can help support the knees. You might be sitting in a chair. Lengthen tailbone through crown, shoulders back. As you exhale, maybe start to twist from the mid-torso towards the left. That may be plenty. Or sit back and perhaps hook the outer right elbow to the outer left knee. Check that the right knee isn't coming forward. Right knee, right hip back. Knees right on top of ankles. You're in the variation that serves you. Sink into the end of the exhalation there. And then inhale, come on out. Whew. Find your breath. Let's move with our breath. Inhale, reach. Bend the knees, exhale, fold. Inhale, lift your torso halfway. And exhale, send the right leg back and come into a low lunge. Back knee down, front hip back, hug the inner thighs towards one another, firm the abdominal wall. Now you could stay right here. Or as you hug to midline, come on up once again. Arms can reach out in front of you. Draw the whole waistline back. And then as you exhale, the left arm moves down and back. So again, you're twisting just from the mid-torso. Inhale, back through center. This is where you could stay. Or exhale, the whole waistline moves back. Arm moves down and back, but you're only twisting at your mid-torso. With your breath here. Those hip points stay facing forward. Nice. And then bring the hands together at the heart. This is where you might stay, or again, we'll explore one more twist. Hug the outer hips towards one another. Draw the whole waistline back. Maybe you twist a few inches. Maybe you twist that outer right elbow hooks to outer left knee. Every inhale, finding length. And every exhale, soften the face and the shoulders and sink into the end of the exhalation. And then unwind. And as you inhale, you can work to straighten that front leg. And exhale, bend it. So we're moving in time with the breath. And as you're ready, sweep the left leg back behind you and come into a three-legged table here. You could be on hands or fists or finger tops. Hug the arms and the legs into your strong midline. Keep moving with breath. Nice long exhalation, knee towards nose. And inhale, lengthen. Last time. Step back to a plank, maybe knees down here, and we'll flow. Take a big inhale, lift yourself away from the ground, nice long exhalation, lower. Baby cobra, inhale. And exhale, you decide, is it a downward facing dog? Is it a child's pose? Find your breath. Long, long exhalations. Mind rests in the pause. We'll continue side two of a sequence meant to embody this idea of release. So starting in your table or your dog, let's come up to top mat. End of the exhalation, you're rooting down, and inhale, come to rise. Hands to the heart. Big inhale, reach the arms high. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge at the hip creases. Lift the torso halfway. Keep the spine nice and long, and then send the left leg back and come into a low lunge. Front ankle right underneath front knee. Front hip back. Hug the legs towards one another. You could stay down or you could come up, hands to the hip points. Abdominal wall is strong. This is where you might stay, or reach the arms out in front of you. Keep the shoulder blades plugged on those upper back ribs. With a strong core, exhale, lower the right arm down and back, but nothing else moves. You're just twisting from the mid-torso, and continue with your breath. Exhalations naturally firming the abdominal wall, which is helpful, keeps our low back nice and level and spacious as we twist. We're not twisting at the low back, so you can make this as subtle as you need to. Last time. Bring the hands to the heart. This may be plenty, or zip up, twist a few inches towards the right, or come into a low lunge twist to the right. Chin back, ears back, shoulder blades set. Inhales are lengthening.
Firm the abdomen. When you're ready, frame that front foot and then see if it feels okay to inhale and lengthen the front leg. Keep drawing the front hip back. And exhale, front knee bends. Nice slow flow here. Especially that exhalation. Plant the hands, continue the slow flow as you lift the right leg back behind you, three-legged tabletop, and continue this dancing cat-cow. And at the end of the exhalation, you have knee into nose, and it's a real shape of drawing within, just as nature does on the longest night of the year. Last time, step back to a plank, maybe knees down. And this may be plenty. You might come into your child's pose here, or we'll flow one more time. Exhale, we're lowering. Inhale, we're finding length and a bit of lift here, spacious low back. And the last time that we'll focus most deeply on our exhalation is in this posture. So will it be your child's pose? Will it be a prone position? And again, let the mind follow the exhalation to its close. Very slowly draw yourself up to a seat. And just as we did at the opening of our practice, let yourself notice your breath now. Maybe palms are turned up. I simply had you explore the beginning of the inhale, symbolizing the longer days to come, the middle and the top of the inhalation, the moment when we'll experience our summer solstice. And we've been experiencing a long exhalation since that moment, and here we are at the end of the exhalation. I had you explore a 4-7-8 breath. That's a helpful breath for staying with our exhalation and using a long exhalation as a therapeutic way to calm ourselves down, to soothe our nervous system. I want to offer a different breath technique, and this one is useful. Even though the days are getting longer, we are in for some winter. And with winter can bring stagnation, feeling a little lethargic. So this is a breath that can help. I invite you to bring your hands to your lower rib cage, palms in, and connect the third finger on each hand. You could sit in a chair if that's better. You could even lie down here to practice this. And as you inhale, feel the rib cage expanding. And you'll get that feedback from your hands. And then as you exhale, feel the ribs contracting. We're still working with a long exhalation, but now I'm having you focus on the expansion of your inhalation. You can still gently retain the inhalation for a breath or two, if you like that. I'll let you know that when we retain the inhalation briefly, that is enlivening, that is rejuvenating. Breath work can be really subtle, and we can use it as a protocol based on what we need. So I wanted to really have you experience the difference between both of these techniques. Every inhale, maybe you're expanding a little bit more, and you might even add a bit of pressure with your hands as you contract the ribs.
If you feel like you're breathing too slow, if you're starting to feel a little bit lightheaded, then let the breath be a little bit more regulated. And let's add some arm movements now. Inhale. Once again, open up to cactus arms. And as you exhale, keep the spine long and join the forearms together. Inhale. The ribs are still expanding. And exhale, they're still contracting. Forearms come to touch. You can think of this breath as beginning to signify the longer days that are just around the corner and the return of the sun. As we turn our attention now more deeply to our inhalation for the second part of our movement. Last time. Arms by your sides. Tune in. Maybe you're already noticing a difference in this breath technique. Maybe the last technique did offer you more grounding and calming, and maybe you're starting to feel some enlivening. And it's my intention that the second part of our movement is also adding to that experience. So, first step, let's come forward to forearms and knees. Bring your elbows underneath your shoulders. Interlace your hands. Press your forearms down and forward, and do ensure that the elbows are right underneath shoulders. Option number one, you're staying right here. Keep your shoulder blades really stuck on those upper back ribs, and then lift the low ribs and the abdominal wall away from the ground. This in itself is really strengthening for the shoulders and strengthening for the muscles that keep our shoulder blades where we want them to be here. Option number two, if you can keep your shoulder blades where they are, then you can lift your knees and your hips like you did in down dog for a dolphin. You can bend your knees as much as you need to here. Your forearms keep pressing forward and down. Your neck is free. The head is not pressing into the ground. You can bend the knees as much as you need to and come on up to the ball mounds of your feet. Keep the shoulder blades set. It's like you're moving your chest towards your knees. And from here, I invite you to walk your feet back, coming into a forearm plank. Yes, our knees can come down. Keep pressing those forearms down and forward. Lift the face, set the shoulder blades, lift the ribs. And slowly lower all the way down and come into a sphinx position. So that means your elbows stay underneath your shoulders and your forearms can become parallel out in front of you, palms down. Hug your arms forward towards your body, like your whole body could slide forward. Set those shoulder blades, back of the neck is nice and long. If this is too much for your low back, walk your forearms out in front of you any amount. You could walk them way out in front of you, but feel the abdominal wall activate as you anchor the pubic bone and keep the low back really spacious. Now that chest expanding breath technique, rib expanding, try it here once again. And notice the mobility of your rib cage as you inhale. But we're sinking into that exhalation as well. So see if we can find a balance between the two. Feeling all the expansion of the rib cage, of the lungs, and a nice long exhalation, dropping our shoulders back and down. Relax your face. And slowly exhale. Keep the core really strong. Slide the hands back until they're next to your low ribs. Tuck your toes. Firm the abdominal wall. Mindfully press yourself up to a table. Some of you will start in a tabletop, lifting a leg. Some of you will come into a downward facing dog. So to decide what feels right for you, I'll model from a tabletop here. Nice long breath. From a strong core, lift the left leg back behind you now. So arms and legs hug into the midline. And the next time you inhale, float the left foot all the way forward. Take the hand to the ankle if you need to. You can start on a low lunge. And then eventually you can shorten and widen your stance, and you're pressing down in order to rise up into an upright crescent lunge. Hug the outer hips towards one another, really press down, recruit your glutes. You're coming all the way up to a stand here. Find hands on those frontal pelvic points. Tailbone is nice and long as the whole waistline draws back. Now, with hands to the hips, first step, chin, shoulders, elbows back, ribs in. That may be plenty, or let's explore this interlace one more time. Front toes relaxed, ribs in, lots of core awareness here. Back leg is really strong, we're breathing. Now here's where we're going. You might hold on to something around you. You might bring your hands back to the ribs, back to the hips. We'll slowly start to play with leaning forward, bringing more weight into that front leg. Remember, toes light and spreading, and then slowly, slowly lift up. Lift up the right leg into warrior three. You could release the hands. You could be holding on to something. The foot could still be on the ground like an anchor. And eventually come all the way up to stand, hands to the hips. See if you can keep the right leg lifted and bend the right knee out in front of you. Foot is really active. Hug those outer hips towards one another. Lengthen crown of the head away from tail. Shoulders back, ribs in. Again, you could be holding on to a chair. Inhale, invitation to lengthen and lift the left arm so that you're lengthening the left side of your body. Keep breathing, toes relaxed, core strong. And then twisting just from the mid-torso, take the left hand to the outer right knee. This might be enough. Or without moving the hips, maybe you reach the right arm back and you're twisting just from the mid-torso, just from the mid-torso. Lots of options here, especially to hold on to something. Relax those standing toes, relax the face. Whether you're coming in and out, our next step is to unwind, core stays strong, and to step that back leg back so we have a heel to heel alignment and we're setting up for our warrior two. Front foot forward, back foot anchored, toes might slightly be angling forward. Squeeze the legs towards one another and zip pubic bone to navel as you find the structure that serves you. And then with your breath, now we're feeling that inhalation. Beginning of the inhalation initiates the movement. Keep drawing the waistline back. And our long exhalation brings us down into our core, into our feet, into the structure. Find the structure here. And then, beginning of the inhalation, that's where our focus can be in this flow, initiating the movement. Long exhalation and sink with your breath. Back leg strong. Next time you exhale, windmill those arms, land your hands on either side of the front foot, pick up the back heel. Here we are in a runner's lunge. Pause, step back either to a table or to a downward facing dog. You're welcome to flow here. If you like the idea of rippling forward, if you like the idea of a child's pose, this is your practice. Individualize it. And eventually we'll move into that sequence on the other side. So that means a left leg lifts, or a right leg lifts rather. Right leg lifts. And we'll float the foot all the way forward. Take your time to turn this low lunge into a high lunge, rooting down in order to rise up. Hands to the hip points, powerful back leg, tailbone long, waistline back. You decide, hands to the hips with shoulders and elbows back, or interlace. Relax your front toes and face. Find the inhale that lengthens here.
And find the exhale that softens ribs back, that anchors the feet, that relaxes front toes. And then depending on what you did last time, maybe you held on to something, maybe you just explored a little bit more weight into the front leg, the right leg. Maybe you explored lifting the back leg. Keep the foot active, hug the outer hips towards one another. And eventually we are tipping up, releasing the hands if that applies, and bending the left knee out in front of us. Foot is still active. Are we holding on to something to center ourselves? Can you breathe fully? Outer hips hug towards one another. Find length on that inhalation. Beginning of the inhalation supporting us here. As perhaps we lift the right arm, right side of the body, nice and long. From a strong core, twisted the mid-torso, right hand to outer left knee. And maybe we continue to twist at the mid-torso, and we could be supported by something here. Steady your gaze, relax your jaw. Core stays strong, unwind, and then we're taking that big step back for a warrior two, heel to heel alignment. Set up the foundation, powerful back leg, front knee can bend if you like, but we're bending that knee open. Zip up, squeeze the outer hips and the legs towards one another, find structure, and then find the beginning of the inhalation. And windmill the hands, come into a runner's lunge, downward facing dog. Last downward facing dog. And when you're ready, walk your hands and your feet towards one another, coming into a forward fold. Bend the knees as much as you need to. Use your exhalation to root down. Feel the beginning of the inhalation, rising you up. Hands to the heart. All right, at the center point of your yoga mat, you're going to be finding a stance on the left leg. So find something to hold on to if you know that you like to have some extra support for balancing postures. Toes light and spreading, plant the toes, plant that tripod at the base of the left foot. Stand up tall. Option number one, right toes, they're a kickstand as you hug the outer hips towards one another. Option number two, kick the right heel towards the hip, hamstring strengthening. That can be helpful. Keep the abdominal wall strong. Option number three, going for a thigh stretch here, hug the outer hips towards one another, kick the foot into the hand, and really find that zipper between your pubic bone and your navel. Everything's drawing to midline. Torso square to the top of your yoga mat. It may be helpful to hold on to a chair in front of you. We're only here to try. A variation of dancer pose. You can start with left arm reaching high. Think of both sides of your body hugging into the midline with the engagement of your strong core as you start to slowly tip forward. So everything that we've done is really preparing us for our variation of this. Keep kicking foot into hand, hand into foot. Keep drawing ribs in, abdomen in, as if the tailbone could lengthen towards that back knee. As soon as it feels too much for the low back, we're pausing here. Again, we could be holding on to something out in front of us. Core really, really strong. Toes on that standing leg, light and spreading. And then whenever you feel complete, we're coming on out and pause with your breath. Send that long exhalation down into your feet. Notice the difference in each leg, in each shoulder. And all we have to do is explore that experience on the other side, on the right foot. Set yourself up with something to hold on to if that supported you. Hands to the hip points. Your left foot can be a kickstand. You're still really strengthening the right leg. You can kick the left heel towards the hip. And it's nice to strengthen those hamstrings. Or you're finding your thigh stretch. Thighs become parallel once again. Whole waistline draws back. Lifted foot is active. Shoulders and chin back. Breathe. If you're interested in exploring Dancer, reach the right arm to begin. Keep kicking foot into hand into foot as you start to tip forward. Keep hugging inner thighs and outer hips towards one another. There's still a micro bend in that standing leg knee. We're not gripping with the toes. Tailbone lengthens towards the back knee. Both arms and legs continue to hug into the midline. Relax the face. And when you feel complete of your variation, you can come out. Find your breath, find your body, find your ground. Rib expanding inhales. Long lingering exhales. Now we have a balance between the two. Inhale, reach your arms. Bend your knees and slowly, slowly, slowly come into a forward fold, keeping your spine as long as you possibly can. Plant your hands, step back to a tabletop position, and we're lowering all the way down for our last active posture of this experience. There'll be some options as always. Walk your long legs away from your torso. Legs are parallel, anchor the tops of your feet and firm up your legs. You're still anchoring that pubic bone area. Option number 1, arms long next to your body with your palms down. Locust will have you lifting the arms, the chest, and the face. Keep the back of the neck long and the core really strong. Option number 2, those legs can lift as well, lifting the legs from the inner upper thighs. And option number 3, if you have bow pose in your practice, if you have a long torso and short legs like me, maybe it's a little bit accessible. You want to keep those thighs parallel, tailbone really long, so you have the pubic bone anchored. And then maybe you kick back both of those shins. And then we get this nice opening across the front of the body where we're enjoying spacious inhales and long flowing exhalations, softening any gripping or forcing or trying. So we're in a variation that allows us to breathe fully, please. And we're focusing on that very initial inhalation and how that supports the posture we find ourselves in. And whenever you feel complete, I invite you to come on out to rest your forehead on stacked hands and feel the sensations after whatever posture you chose. And my hope is that you don't have to move very much to reach for your journal and pen from where you are in a prone position. Earlier in our practice, we asked ourselves as we look back at the year that was, what wants to be remembered, what wants to be released, and now, after this part of the practice, what wants to be renewed. My hope is that we experienced an embodiment of rejuvenation there in the last 30 minutes or so. What wants to be renewed? And let go of intention setting. I think sometimes that just creates more of a place of should and not being enough as we are. But just what wants to be renewed? We have all of it within us, a renewal and a dissolution, but I'm just inviting you to focus on what wants to be renewed without making ourselves bad or wrong the way we are right now. Think of all different categories of what makes us human, our relationships and our boundaries, our work life, our family life, our life within. What wants to be renewed? And just begin to write. You feel complete knowing that you can come back to reflecting on these 3 questions as the year comes to a close. You can use these in your own practices and your own rituals. Let's slowly press ourselves up to a seat and reach around for your bolster or the pillows that you're using as a bolster. And we'll set it up with the long sides of your bolster or your pillows parallel with the long edges of your yoga mat. We'll be reclining back in a restorative posture that is naturally opening up the front of the body. So if you know that you like to have a little something underneath your pelvis, because the idea is you want to have your hips, your pelvis remaining on the ground as you recline back on something that is supporting the spine and something that is supporting the back of the head as well, so that the back of the neck stays nice and long. You can build a Supta Baddha Konasana, meaning that the soles of the feet come together and you bend your knees and extend your knees away from one another. You can keep the knees bent. If the low back is feeling tender, you can drop the knees together. You could lengthen the legs. You could put a blanket on top of you. We'll be here for a few moments. So if you don't like the feeling of the pillow or the bolster supporting the back of your body, opening up the front of your body, then change something. Find a position that serves you and that you can be in for a bit of a visualization here. When you feel as comfortable and supported as you possibly can, I invite you once again to connect with your breath. You can let go of technique and simply feel. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, settling into this posture, into this support, whether it's from a prop or the ground. And begin to explore all aspects of the breath. Beginning of the inhalation, the entire length of the inhalation, the top of the inhalation, and the whole width of the exhalation, and the pause at the end. Notice what happens with the body and mind in every single aspect of this breath. Engaging with the breath in this way, becoming so curious about every side of it, is a wonderful meditation practice in itself. And we're really just giving our minds a focal point. And the specific imagery I'd like to offer as a focal point for the mind in this workshop is the image of a flame. The flame of a candle. And place that image of that flame at the center of your chest. So awareness moves to the symbolic heart as the mind is allowed to rest on the image of a flame. Notice the inhale brightening the flame. And as you exhale, it stays just as bright. Every inhale brightens that flame a little bit, and it remains at that level of brightness as you exhale. Everything I say is just a suggestion, but I suggest that this flame now begins to symbolize something that wants to be renewed. I invite you to consider one word. Maybe it's resolve or peace, quiet. Whatever you recognized wants to be renewed a little bit more. As daylight becomes renewed in the coming days. And use that word as a mantra along with your awareness on this flame and your awareness at the center of the chest. I'm really giving our busy minds a lot to focus on here. Your word as a mantra repeated on every inhale and exhale. Your breath is with you, the image is with you. And we'll pause in this meditation technique for the next few moments. Change something about your posture if you need to. Begin to deepen your breath and focus on the beginning of the inhalation and the pause after the exhalation. Allow the next inhalation to move you off of your bolster, to slide your bolster to the side, and to gently come back down to your back. Let everything settle for a moment when you get there. Cactus arms by your sides, wider set feet, a swish swish with your knees. The next time you exhale, rock all the way over to one side and let yourself pause in a posture laying on your side. And come back to the breath. Especially long exhalations, especially the end of the exhalation. Press into your hands and let's slowly create a comfortable tall seat here. When you get there, invite a deep breath in and a deep breath out and notice what your breath is like now. Smoother, clearer, brighter, longer exhales. Fuller inhales, a fuller experience of it all. That's the potential of our practice, a fuller experience of it all. An experience of the breath is in itself an experience of beginnings and endings. Just a moment or two here to acknowledge where we are. The last thing I invite is an acknowledgement of you and everything that you've done this year. And at this extraordinary time, can we acknowledge ourselves? And maybe that feels like hands stacked at the heart, right then left. Can we acknowledge the striving to always want to be better, but can we also acknowledge what we've done? And thank yourself for showing up to take some time to acknowledge where we find ourselves just before the solstice, just before a new year, stepping away from the wheel of life just for a moment to acknowledge where we find ourselves.
Thank you so much for being here, for your presence and your exploration.